Hello, all listener of the Ukrainian Roots Radio Nash Holos. Every day, Russian/Putin regime committing war crime in Ukraine, but not just only in Ukraine, in Syria, in many African countries, all around the world. One of the significant war crimes concern the children, Ukrainian children, Syrian children, and we still don't know the exact number of the Russian victims, but since the full-scale invasion to Ukraine, Russia killed, kidnapped, or injured more than 700,000 Ukrainian kids. And it's very important to mention this information and talk about this, especially before the International Kids Day. I'm Anton Lysенko, and today we'll be talking about the Ukrainian kids who become Russian victims of the war. And our guest is Steve Ostafchuk. He has actually very small volunteer teams, just a couple of people. He organized the project ДЕТИ, which is mean children. At the same time, the word ДЕТИ was painted by the Mariupol Drama Theatre, which Russia bombed and buried hundreds of people. Hello, Steve, and welcome to the studio of Radio Nash Holos.
Good afternoon.
So, Steve, you put in lots of effort to tell to the world about these terrible Russian crimes, acting like a volunteer. At the same time, we have many powerful international organizations like UNICEF, Red Cross. Do you think they doing enough to protect kids and stop Russian crime?
There can never be enough effort to be put in. No matter what happens, everybody has to pitch it and continue to bring awareness to the world. We can't let things go by. We cannot let this atrocity fall under the same historical trauma and tragedies that we had with the Holodomor. We have to raise our voices.
International Crime Court issue arrest warrants for Russian President Vladimir Putin and Commissioner of the Children's Right Maria Lvova-Belova year ago. And do you think this decision will influence the Russian governments to stop committing the crime and stealing the children for their families?
All we can do is by recognizing and taking them to the civil world court is for the world to know and for the world to acknowledge that these are crimes against humanity, crimes against children. The United Nations Convention of the Charter of Rights of the Child, of which Russia was a signatory, is one of the reasons why our ДЕТИ, Where Are You project had come into creation. What we are doing is trying to get the whole English world, the whole English-speaking global world to understand what is going on. By having one voice, by one voice, by one voice, creating a global awareness adds more and more pressure on the Russian, on Putin and his cronies, but it also puts them into a corner where they're not going to be able to continue. This doesn't stop with just an anniversary date or a march. This is something that has to be a continuous global education and awareness program.
Since you started your project, what is the result?
To give you a bit of a very quick overview, a dear friend of mine sent me through the internet a very heart-wrenching emotional song that a Ukrainian American doctor, radiologist, Dr. Leo Wolansky, wrote. It's an English and Ukrainian song, and the song is called ДЕТИ. As you said, ДЕТИ по-русски in Russian means kids, and that actually ended up being a visual for the bombers to drop the bombs on the Mariupol theater. In Ukrainian, ДЕТИ means where are you? When I heard this song, after first of all crying, but then it spilled into me a real sense of rage that we have to do something. Within a matter of about a minute and a half, it came up with an idea that we have to take this song global. So a small group of Ukrainian volunteers, both in Canada and the US, got together and in the creative barnstorming process came up with the idea to highlight the plight of Ukrainian children based on the United Nations Charter of Rights for the Child. If you have a picture of an image of a spear tip, the very point is of awareness for us was recognizing the second anniversary of the bombing of the Mariupol Theater. That's the very point. And as you widen the spirit tip, the next part of our education, information, public awareness program is to highlight the plight of the abducted children. And then as you widen the spirit even further, then it goes into the rights of children, not just in Ukraine, but everywhere in the world, whether that is Syria, Africa, whether it's Gaza, specifically for us in Ukraine. The United Nations Charter of Rights should be the universal theme that everybody adheres to, and Russia does not. So the program started, we're not selling anything. So the program for us was, how do we bring awareness? I've partnered with four Ukrainian children-based charities, which is on the website. Please take a look at dety-charities.com. Not only is the song there, but the entire program and everything that we are doing. These four charities are all geared specifically to supporting kids, Ukrainian kids.
Now, the same situation that Russian Empire is basically doing the same thing. And I want to ask you about your like a global vision. How can the people on the world can stop the situation, to avoid the situation in the future?
Well, if everyone stays quiet, if nobody steps up, we are destined to repeat the exact same thing as the Holodomor, right? If people were afraid to speak about it, people were thrown in prison for it, but it took 70 years before the world got to know about the genocide caused by Stalin, called the Holodomor. And that was just one of many, okay? So we cannot allow ourselves to repeat history. So if you are in a democratic country like Canada or in the United States, you have a voice, and that voice is your vote. Pick up your phone or or send an email to your local representative, municipal, provincial, federal, stateside, House of Representatives, senators. Put your voice out there, because they will hear what the constituents need to have done. If we sit on our zadoks and don't do anything, nothing will get done. And Russia has had decades and decades of disinformation. So we need to counter disinformation with information. Okay, and that is the power that every individual has. You can only do what you can do as best as you can do, and that's the best that's going to be done. But if you do one, and then another one, and another one, and then millions and millions and millions raising their voices, the world will pay attention, the world will understand. And no matter what, Putin will never have the opportunity to leave his little Russia dasha to ever go anywhere else in the world, because he is now a wanted man. And all his compadres and all the people who support him in his megalomania will suffer the same fate. No autocrat, no dictator ever survives. And what we need to do is to make sure that voice and information and awareness is such that the disinformation peddlers will be overwhelmed. But we cannot sit back and do nothing. So even if all you do is make a donation to one of these four charities, God bless you. They will do the work with the benefit of your money. Okay, raise your voice to your politicians. That gives you power. You are self-empowering yourself. And if we could do that, step by step, and aggregate it, that is the power of 10x multiplying. And the further we can take this, and the longer we can take this, we will ultimately win. Truth always wins.
Canada is one of the humanitarian leader of Western world. What should be the Canadian policy to protect kids all around the world against the Putins and the same kind of crazy politician?
We're not Russia bashing. Okay? I have Russian friends. Okay, it's just a very small group of people, like Putin, right? Who has basically robbed his country, belabored his people, put him into another Stalinist kind of dictatorial kind of environment. we do what we can do, and sooner or later, someone will stand up to Putin. Sooner or later, he will die, whether by his own hand or by someone giving him a hand. Sooner or later, there will be a regime change. The democratic world cannot sit back and cower and think, "Oh, we have to kowtow to Putin." He's a short man with a big ego, and he's through disinformation, propaganda, useful idiots like what's his name, Tucker Carlson, people like that who are on the payroll. We have to stand up, and sooner or later, these rabbit hole echo chambers that people are in, sooner or later, there's going to have to be a coming to terms where people will have to come together and start to talk, not talk at each other or yell at each other, talk with each other. You have to have dialogue. With dialogue, you have to have information.
Thank you, Mr. Ostafichuk. It was a very important conversation because the evil will be defeated, even such an evil like Putin and Putin regime.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Ostafichuk.
One last thing I'd say, when your audience listens to that song, please go to dita-charities.com. Listen to that song. If that does not bring tears to your eyes or upsets you or raises you to do some kind of call to action, then you're either soulless or a sociopath, or your name is Putin. Thank you for your time. I look forward to future conversations to share more with you as to how the project evolves. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.